Hi, I'm Brian Lord, host of the Beyond Speaking podcast, back with another podcast 101. This is for the host. So this is how to get guests, what to ask them, not anything to do with the technical stuff. So first of all, we talked about your muse, the person you have in mind that you are doing the interviews for. This helps you make all those types of decisions. So when you're trying to figure out what type of guests to get, think, okay, what is your muse? What would they want to listen to? So with Beyond Speaking podcast, my muse, I kind of cheated on this, is me. So it's somebody in general who is maybe an executive, they've been around for a while, they've heard a lot of stuff. If they're going to listen to something, it's got to be good, it's got to be interesting, it's got to be something that you can take something away from, but it's not like so didactic, like you do this and this and this and this and this and this will happen. It's got to be story oriented, it's got to be really interesting. So when I do the Beyond Speaking podcast, that's what I think about. So when you're doing your podcast, you need to think about, okay, what would my person want to think of? Secondly, when you're doing it, you want to practice. You want to actually be good at what you're doing from that standpoint. So for the first Beyond Speaking podcast, the first interview I did was not the first interview released. So what I did, of course, I've done a whole lot. When in college, I studied a whole lot of these different things. But what I did was I got a friend who I knew that if I messed up, I could do it over again. So he's totally fine, and he's a legitimate guest, like an Olympian and a New York Times bestselling author, but he's somebody I knew well enough that he'd be like, hey, I want to practice, I want to do a practice interview with you, I want to act like it's just like it's the real thing, but if I mess up, is it okay if I do it again? He's like, sure, that's totally great, totally fine. So we did the whole interview that way. So it helped me figure out how I wanted to do the interview, because a lot of times, and even with this, with Beyond Speaking podcast, we probably had 20 recorded before I released any. Again, it's a different kind of scenario. And do you like how I'm trying to get that in the back, little plug for the podcast in the back there. But that's one of the things that you want to do, is figure out what you want to have. And so I will start off with ringers. So I'll get people that I know are going to do it. Then what I do is I take that list, say, hey, I've already done this interview with this person and this person and this person. Hopefully some of them are connected with who you like, who you want to get further on down the road, and you can put together like this little thing. So you see what you have behind me is a promo. So I've interviewed these people. A few of them were kind of what you call, luckily people I'd worked with in the past. And then I could say, hey, I've already done interviews with these people. If you want to, everything's not finished, but you can listen to them and see what it's like, and you can tell, okay, I actually know what I'm doing. So that's how we built this up, is we interviewed some people that were kind of ringers, people I had a relationship with, and then we sent that out and said, hey, I've already done interviews with these people, you can listen to them, you build from there. Another thing you can do is, to kind of build your profile, is get references from these people. So like there was a speaker who said, I love this, my book just released, I've done 15 interviews this week, yours was different, and here's why, and I had more fun because you didn't ask the basic questions. So that's another thing you can do, is get testimonials from the speakers themselves, or the interviewees themselves, saying, hey, this person did a great interview with me, here's why, and you can use that as a promotional thing to get interviews from other people you may not know as well. Anyway, help me out. Go to beyondspeak.com, download the podcast, give me some 5 stars on iTunes, Stitcher, and what have you, and I'll be back soon with some more tips for you. Thanks.